We've got a federal election tomorrow in Australia, and it really is the douchebag turd sandwich scenario from Southpark.
Welcome to the cable access televised debate between a giant douche and a turd sandwich.
I mean, like most countries, Australia has two major parties, and we've got to choose from shit option A or slightly less shit option B. Now, as you might be aware, I don't talk about Australian politics that much, because Australian politics are boring. My audience is only like 10% Australian, so I know that if I talk about boring stuff to 10% of my audience, the video's probably not going to do that well. But here we are. I feel like I've got to say something, because the guy that should have had this election in the bag has fucked it right up. I mean, it up royally. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised. I don't think I will be, and if I am, it'll be marginally pleasant. I'll tell you all about it. Let's go! So we're voting for parties and their policies, but everyone knows elections largely come down to a personality contest. It's just the way it is. Now, Anthony Albenese is the world's biggest pussy. He's a snivelling little prick. He's like a lumpy fart. He's a career politician. He's never had another job. And just his demeanour, his personality, he comes across as a weak man. Now, Peter Dutton, the leader of the Liberal Party, by the way, the Liberal Party in Australia is the Conservative Party, but Peter Dutton is an ex-cop. He's an ex-cop from Queensland. He's Australia's toughest immigration minister in living history. He should have played the strongman card, but he didn't. This whole campaign, it's like he's tried to out-pussify Albanese. I mean, just look at this. I get the Sunday paper delivered. I just think there's something nostalgic about it. I rarely read it. It sits on the coffee table. But look at this. This is last weekend's paper. You got Peter Dutton front page wearing a grandpa cardigan with his hands crossed in his lap looking like a fucking wet sneeze. The headline says, "I have a softer side. I've made mistakes, but we can still win." Fuck off. I mean, the man's just finished the most polite bare-knuckle boxing match in history. He could have annihilated Labor on a golden platter of cost of living chaos, border fuck-ups and woke bullshit. But instead, he tapped them gently on the nose and said, "Excuse me, sir. I do believe you've made a bit of an oversight." It's like taking a tactical nuke to a knife fight and then asking if everyone wants to share it. I mean, you've got cost of living. Why is lettuce $8? Labor's been in power for what feels like 100 years. And somehow, in that time, they've managed to turn your weekly shop into a fucking mortgage repayment. Families are skipping meals, stealing steaks, and comparing Aldi chicken nuggets like it's a fine wine tasting. You used to feed a family of 4 on $100 a week. Now that gets you a bag of rice, 3 apples, and a lecture about food privilege from a 19-year-old on TikTok. And Peter Dutton, the man could have walked into Parliament holding a grocery bag and gone, "Hey, Albo, $72, what the fuck?" But instead, he mumbled something about fiscal discipline and wandered off to iron his ties. Then there's immigration and border security, his fucking forte. I mean, yes sir, we'd prefer not to be stabbed. Labor got caught fighting, yes, fighting, to let violent criminals stay in the country. You know, rapists, thugs, attempted murderers, the full Sydney starter pack. The High Court says let them stay, and Labor says sure, want a visa and a free flat with that? Peter Dutton, the man who made his career on border protection, barely raised his voice. What happened, mate? You used to scare illegal boat smugglers so bad they swam back to Jakarta. Now you're sending strongly worded letters, while the rest of us are sleeping with one eye open and a baseball bat under the bed. Then there's the Voice, race-based bureaucracy, now with more self-righteousness. The referendum bombed harder than a Hannah Gadsby comedy special. Australians don't want racial segregation rebranded as progress. And they definitely don't want another billion-dollar bureaucracy full of activists who think Clive Churchill was a colonial warlord. Dutton could have said, "We stopped apartheid once. We're not doing that again just because it's wearing a welcome to country necklace and a PhD in trauma studies." Instead, he sounded like he was delivering a eulogy at a HR conference. Power bills are higher than Hunter Biden on a Friday night. But here's Labor gluing solar panels to anything that doesn't move. They want net zero by 2050, but can't explain how we're meant to keep the lights on next Thursday. Peter Dutton had a golden opportunity to call them out. Just walk into Parliament with a power bill, wave it in the air like a rabid pensioner, and yell, "You did this, you fucking spanners!" Instead, he said something about nuclear energy like he was hoping no one would notice. Then there's youth crime, aka why is that child carjacking me? Little bastards are out there robbing pensioners, pinching utes and lighting bins on fire for TikTok clout. And Labor wants to give them fucking art therapy. Peter Dutton should have been shouting, "Lock the fuckers up," from the rooftops, with a megaphone and a flamethrower. But no, we believe in consequences where appropriate. Appropriate? What is this, mate? A gender studies thesis? Then there's the issue of free speech. Now this one is close to my heart for obvious reasons. The Albanese government has been trying to protect us from misinformation the same way wet socks protect you from frostbite, by making things worse and smelling bad while doing it. They tried to ram through that misinformation and disinformation bill, which should have been called the Shut Up, You're Offending the Government bill. It was basically a license for the government to decide what opinions you're allowed to have. If you disagreed with them, congratulations. You're now a threat to democracy and must be deplatformed quicker than a gender-critical lesbian on Blue Sky. And after that church stabbing in Wakeley, the government swooped in like authoritarian fruit bats, telling platforms what they could and couldn't show within 24 hours. Because nothing says transparency like shadow banning a panic. But I mean, we gotta face the fact. It was a Liberal government that installed Australia's e-safety dictator. But still, Dutton should have grabbed this issue and ran like Clive Palmer to a buffet. Instead, he flimsily pointed out the trap and said, "Oh my, that looks tricky." That's it? That's your big defense of liberty? Mate, they're trying to turn the country into North Korea with lattes, and that's all you've got. The Liberals had a golden opportunity to burn this shit at the stake, but instead they gave it a light spank and whispered naughty. I mean, Peter Dutton had a tray of Labor's failures, served up hot and ready. All he had to do was pick it up and launch it like a tactical pie to the face. Instead, he took the high road again. And where does that road lead? It leads to opposition, with a view of the Albanese clown show from the back bench. I'm not going to be voting for either major party, because they're both shit. I'm going to vote for a smaller party. I haven't decided which one yet. It depends on how I feel on the day. I mean, Australia has a preferential voting system, so my vote's going to end up going to the Liberals anyway, but it might help send a message to the major parties. We're sick of this shit. Or I am anyway. That's all I've got. Like I said, I hope I'm pleasantly surprised. I don't think I will be, and like I said, if I am, it'll be like fractionally more pleasant. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you have any comments, leave them down below or at my Twitter. It's at bear_ing, and I'll catch you next time. Alright, ta-ta, bye-bye.
Recession! Give me better times, give me better times. Recession!